Pastor Ed here with Daily Devotions for Tuesday, February the 28th, 2023, coming to the end of another month. Where the time goes. Continuing my pattern, I guess you'd call it, of the last few months, we're going to focus the Daily Devotions this week on the Gospel reading from the previous Sunday. Not so much verse by verse, but the overall theme, of course, was forgiveness. For those of you who weren't able to worship with us, and I know we had some technical difficulties for the people who like to live stream, the passage is Matthew 18:15-35, talking about forgiveness, reconciliation, and then how many times we should forgive and so forth. So I just want to talk about the difficulty of forgiveness, the radical nature of forgiveness today. It seems that in the winter of 1966, a voter registration card arrived in the mail at the home of Vernon Dahmer. On the surface, something like this was no big deal. It happens every day, but this one was different for a number of reasons. It was different because Vernon Dahmer was an African-American in Mississippi, and this was the first year that he could vote just like any other person without the encumbrance of oppressive poll taxes or backhanded laws of discrimination. It was different because Vernon had worked hard to make this a reality. It was different, tragically, because Vernon Dahmer had died only weeks before. He died on January the 11th of horrible burns to his lungs. The night before, several members of the White Knights of the KKK carried out a plan to punish Dahmer for his efforts to bring equal voting rights to the black community. In the middle of the night, several KKK members began firing guns at the house while others threw firebombs through the windows. Vernon grabbed a shotgun and ran to the front of the house to provide cover fire while the rest of his family escaped out a back window. They all lived, but Vernon was overcome by smoke and flames, and hours later he was dead. It's so heartbreaking that he never got a chance to see all of his efforts come to fruition with his own eyes. But so many others benefited from his sacrifice, bravery, and leadership. When we read the gospel story, we are actually reading the story of our own redemption and forgiveness and new life that Christ has won for us by his blood. It's a beautiful thing, but the truth is that our new life has already begun. It matters for our future, but it also matters right now. It matters today. We have the hope of God's plan for us alive in us, and this leads us to live differently today, to share the love of Christ in our lives today. This was certainly true of Vernon Dahmer's widow, Ellie, because in August 1998, 32 years after such cruel men attacked her home and stole the life of her husband and her children's father, something truly amazing happened. She met one of the attackers face to face for the first time. A reporter by the name of Jerry Mitchell found one of the participants in the crime, a guy by the name of Billy Roy Pitts. And Billy testified in the trial of Sam Bowers, the ringleader of the Knights of the KKK in Mississippi, and Bowers was convicted and jailed. But as Billy Roy Pitts left the courtroom after his testimony, he happened to walk right by Ellie Dahmer and her family. But he didn't keep walking. He stopped and he turned to her, and with tears in his eyes, he told her how sorry he was for what he did and asked for her forgiveness. It was an awkward and intense moment. But what happened next was breathtaking, that no one who was there will ever forget it. This woman who endured so many days over so many decades, missing her husband with tears in her eyes, said, "I forgive you." And then the children who missed their dad so much and thought about all the things he never got to see, that they never got to share with him, said, "I forgive you." And the grandchildren who never got a chance to meet this great man, who had to know him only through pictures and stories, said, "I forgive you." And in its own way, we can say this was truly a testimony to their faith in Christ, to what God revealed to them, because what we see in this brief moment is hope. Hope, sure and certain, hope born on the cross. Hope for people like Ellie Dahmer and her husband Vernon. Hope even for folks like Billy Roy Pitts. And hope even for people like you and me. In a message celebrating the 2002 World Day of Prayer, Pope John Paul II said, "Forgiveness is above all a personal choice, a decision of the heart to go against natural instinct to pay back evil with evil." Lewis Smedes, who I quoted in my sermon on Sunday, writes elsewhere in a book called Forgive and Forget, Healing the Hurts We Don't Deserve, if we say that monsters, people who do terrible evil, are beyond forgiving, we give them a power they should never have, he says. They are given the power to keep their evil alive in the hearts of those who suffered most. We give them power to condemn their victims to live forever with the hurting memory of their painful past. We give the monsters the last word. Someone once said this. We'll end on it today. Forgiveness is radical. Forgiveness dissolves alienation, brings reconciliation, restoration, and renewal. Forgiveness is the most radical force in history, and Jesus is the most radical person in history. Forgiveness. Well, I hope you join me for the rest of the week as we continue to focus on the radical nature of forgiveness. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.